This is a public service announcement for astrologers and fans of astrology. And this is about ethics in astrology practice. And we're going to simplify it for you. So the first thing you got to understand is that ethics is extremely important anytime you're dealing with anything that could possibly impact another person's life or well-being. Ethics is a required component in every industry where we're dealing specifically with human beings and their wellness. So medical practitioners, ethics is a required course, and they need to understand what ethics means and how it applies to their industry. People who are in any of the healing professions, people who are in counseling or service or assistance support positions, lawyers, for example, accountants, people who are financial managers. The ethics is everywhere, and it's extremely important. Even scientists who don't deal with people directly and are just doing work with genetics, and DNA and things way out there, there's ethics in everything because it matters. It's important. However, astrology seems to be missing this component, and one of the reasons is because for the longest time, astrology was not taught to everyone. As a matter of fact, you had to be approved by an actual astrologer back in medieval times before they would pass this information on to you. Public education was not free. Any kind of education was not free. And astrology in particular was not something you just willy-nilly handed out to people. You literally reserved it specifically for the person you were going to give it to as your legacy, the thing that you left behind. But, we live in the modern day and age, and now thanks to the internet and everybody wanting to be the smartest person in the room, astrology is freely, and astrological information is freely available everywhere, but we don't have any ethics training or any even understanding why ethics is necessary. And the reason we've gone from the medieval times and farther back, where you had to be apprenticed and approved and chosen to be given this information as part of the legacy of the astrologer who was leaving the planet, to now, where it's just a freaking three-ring circus out here, is because somewhere between then and now, astrology became the thing that your crazy Aunt Kathy used to do at the kitchen table with her numerology, and nobody took it seriously. So if nobody takes it seriously, there's no need to have any understanding of ethics or apply it, right? But we are no longer at the kitchen table with our crazy Aunt Kathy. Now it's widespread appeal, popularity, and also getting some traction in terms of being taken seriously. Now, I belong to a couple of Harari groups on Facebook as I'm practicing, Harari skills. I haven't found the teacher that I want to work with yet. And with Harari, we're asking the chart, you're using it as an oracle to ask questions to try and get answers for. Now, the thing about it is astrology can be misused just as easily and is often misused more frequently just reading natal charts. Because if you've ever dealt with anybody who's looked at a Pluto aspect and said, oh, Pluto, so rapey. That's like literally my big pet peeve, that in particular. Or I just saw a post by somebody who was trying to make correlations between planetary aspects and clinical depression based on the birth chart of who is this beautiful singer? She used to date Justin Bieber. I can't remember her name. She's a beautiful girl who struggles with mental health issues and is apparently bipolar. And he's trying to use the aspects in her chart to say that, these aspects show up because, clearly this would lend itself to, and that's not true. There are millions of people who are going to show those planets and aspects identically. So unless all those people have specific signatures like clinical depression, right, or bipolar disorder because of these aspects, then you cannot label this aspect. It means this detrimental thing. And this is where ethics comes in. Which is much too long to get into here, but here's the simple version I want you guys to have. All right, this is going to make a lot more sense when you hear it maybe this way. So here's the thing. Here's a list of serious questions I want you to ask yourself when you're practicing astrology for other people. And certainly you can even ask this when you're listening to somebody practice astrology for you. A, what is the benefit of giving this information and to whom? Who benefits from this? B, if I say that this means that when I'm looking at someone's chart, can this label that I'm now creating be misused and hurt another person if someone uses this as an opportunity to jump to conclusions about other folks? Because, clearly, if there's Saturn involvement, well, depression, of course, clinically depressed. Pluto, well, clearly potential rapist, sociopath, because they've got a first house sun. None of these things are true, but these are the things that I hear being bandied about because people think it's a quick and easy label, and these are dangerous conclusions to jump to. And C, this is the last thing I want you guys to ask yourself. Am I a learned enough person about this subject matter to get a fair and full answer and know my limitations on the subject matter? Knowing your limitations is probably the most important thing in anything in life, especially in these things. And that's it. Those are the 3 questions. What is the benefit of getting this information, and to whom? If I say that this means that, can this information be misused and hurt other people? If somebody uses this as an opportunity to jump to conclusions the next time they see that aspect. And finally, am I learned enough about this to not only be able to speak fully and fairly about it, but to recognize my limitations as far as my expertise on this? Sometimes it's better just to not say anything at all and understand that you're not in a position to talk. You should sit down and shut up. Okay, so now with that said, here's what I'm going to give you some examples when we drive these points home. So for the first one, what is the benefit of giving this information, and to whom? Well, here's a situation. Someone asks another person, they ask about another person and their private affairs. For instance, is so-and-so gay? Is so-and-so cheating on their spouse? Is so-and-so working as an escort? Is so-and-so abusing their kids? These are questions people ask, and often they're asking them in Harari groups, which really needs to have a strong emphasis on ethics. So here's the thing. We could answer those questions, but we shouldn't. And the reason is there's no benefit to answering those questions because we have no way to prove any of it. And more important, it can put the person that's being asked about in a worse or more dangerous situation if the answer we give about this speculation gets back to their partner or to other people. If somebody's in a situation where they're being abused at home, I can promise you, if this whole thing that people are speculating about the abuse in the house ever gets back to the abusive partner, we could get them killed. If someone is gay and they're in an environment where being gay is literally a good reason to kill you, we could be putting their life in danger if other people hear our answer to this speculation somebody asked us about. Okay, if somebody's working as an escort or cheating on their spouse, these are things that all of these things are potential situations that could lead to worse outcomes for the person we're asking about if that information gets out. And the problem is, because we have no way to prove this, we have no business getting into that. You do not put people's lives at risk for the benefit of justifying your personal biases and suspicions. Like, that's not how you use astrology. So if this is the situation, the next thing we ask is, well, who is this benefiting? So if we do answer this question, it's not benefiting the person we're speculating about. Who does it benefit? Well, clearly not the person who's being spied on using astrology. So these questions fall into the Nunya Dam category. Nunya Dam business. Remember that. All right. Question 2. If I say this means that, when I'm looking at someone's chart, can this label I'm creating be misused and hurt someone else if another person uses this as an opportunity to jump to conclusions about other folks in the future? So, unless you're a medical doctor, a psychiatric professional, or a criminal forensic profiler, under no circumstances is anyone's sorry ass supposed to play the planet A plus planet B equals sinister or detrimental health label. Those planets and that aspect will be shared by millions of people. So unless they're all doing whatever nonsense that someone's creating this label with, and when you do that, unless they're all doing it, all you're ending up doing is empowering a bigger knucklehead than you to go out and label people with a diagnosis that neither of you are educated enough to make, much less perpetuate. So there's that. And the last one, your example, am I learned enough about this subject to give it a fair and full answer? And the important part, know my limitations on the subject matter. So consider this. Have you ever been pregnant? Have you ever been raped? Have you ever been wrongfully accused of a crime and sent to prison? Chances are many of you are going to say no. And you'll also understand that because you have no experience or valid education on the considerations of those particular circumstances, you're also best served by reserving judgment or advisement on those matters. If you've never been in those situations and had those conditions, chances are good, unless you're a complete idiot, you also know this is probably not something you should be talking about or giving advice about, because this is not your area of expertise or experience. You recognize your limitations. So, when we talk about these things, what this also means is that when you look at a chart and start discussing things like rape aspects, that really grinds my gears, or medical conditions, etc., like you're walking a fine line of arrogant presumption that you know enough to even have that conversation with anyone and offer anything good from it. Recognize your limitations on subject matters that are not part of your lived experience or your education, and own that. The world has enough jackasses running around that think they know plenty of science and medicine from Facebook memes and random liars on the internet, or they know how to run a government when all they know is how to run their big mouths with their useless opinions and short-sighted worldviews. And so that's not helpful either. We've got plenty of those people. We don't need you to add to the collection. Astrology is having a hard enough time being taken seriously. Astrologers who take their practice very seriously and see the good that can come from it struggle with not being lumped into the same category of morons that are out here practicing astrology like a party favor and, looking at charts saying, oh, that's clearly the aspect of a psychopath. Wow, I can't even, Jesus Christ, or, well, why, yes, she's going to die. She's going to die. Oh my God, I can't. The things, I swear, these are real things. So, because astrology has blown up in popularity over the last decade and longer, but certainly within the last 10 years, it's just blown up. Now, if you are a fan of astrology or a practicing astrologer, this is the time to act like it deserves respect by being the kind of astrology practitioner who merits respect. So here's what I want you guys to understand, right? So YouTube has plenty of popular astrologers. We all know who they are, right? But they also merit less respect than the neighborhood drunk. And the reason is because their popularity is because they're entertaining and they say what people want to hear. That's literally all you need to do if you want to be popular. Be entertaining and tell people what they want to hear. And the fact of the matter is, that is not how you get respect. And if you don't believe me, just ask your parents. All right. So that's my public service announcement about ethics in practice and astrology. If you have enjoyed astrology at all, you're planning to practice it, please, by all means, take this seriously and keep that as part at the forefront of your mind when you're dealing with people. Because anytime you're dealing with people and things that could impact their life and wellness, you have an obligation and a responsibility to understand and practice ethics, high-level ethics in your work. Just saying. All right, you guys. Talk to you soon.